ask you questions, you take, like, just, I'll take care. You don't want to get asked questions, you don't know what that's right. Just need to make my that's the collection. So
Yeah, experience a little bit. Like, I don't think I'm being interested in diving as fast as much. Yeah, I'm missing football American fields, but I love them, particularly the younger generation. Man, they mean for open balls. Just like really need. So yeah, man. So basically, let's treat your girl nowadays, bro. So she's American. And the one thing I thought she was a little bit in terms of like TikTok videos, which is be hearing friends, just like myself, and saying like that. Is it we go back in time to see, all right, these past 18, 20 years, you've been brainwashed to believe this bullshit. So you know what? Cool. As a man, take my time and energy to train you in the more traditional ways. And it can be easy, it can be hard. My thing is like, how to train somebody to actually be a woman is crazy, bro. And American women, bro, are notorious for being like legit. I don't say the word. Hard work. Hard work. And helps. I'll say this because like when we say that, right, girls get so triggered when we're on the podcast. We're like, yeah, you got to train women, and they're like, oh my god. And then I'll say, okay, well, let me ask you a question. If you want to build the body of your dreams, where do you go? It's the gym. What do you do there? Oh, I train. Okay. If you're competing for a sport, what do you do? Oh, I train. If you have a marathon you're going to prepare for, what do you do? Oh, you train. Oh, so you're telling me that you're willing to sit there and train to get a better body, to maybe train for a job, etc., but you won't train for your man. And then that's when it really hits home. A girl, right? Western women all the time, they'll go to college, right? They'll wear, a suit and dress, conservatively for a job, right? They'll go to that job, they'll serve the boss, they'll do what they say, etc. Then come home to you. You'll say, "Can you make me a sandwich?" They'll say, "Do it yourself." And I think that's ludicrous because they will give their best years to a company that doesn't give a fuck about them over a man who will provide, protect, and provision for her, right, and give her children. And that's the day and age that we're in now. So what I would say is, right, because this part of the world is different because the women have a father. They come from a nuclear family. They have some semblance of healthy masculinity. But in the United States, where we have a fatherless generation, right? You have a bunch of women that don't respect masculinity in general. Well, hell, most women, and I love to ask the question a lot of times on the podcast, do you think most women respect most men? And the answer is almost always no, they don't. And I think that's very scary because men built the world, but most women don't respect those very men. So what I tell guys is, since women come with this poisonous mind, especially these Gen Zers, these younger women that grip on iPads and TikTok and all sorts of stuff, like you have to almost deprogram the fuckery out of them, tell them this is how the world really works. No, you're not a princess. You're gonna follow me. This is how it is. I will treat you like a princess if it's earned. Yeah. I'm not gonna go ahead and treat you like a princess just because. You have to earn it. Yeah. And you have to make them. You almost have to make them more ladylike and turn them into an asset because most girls come in, right, in the United States, especially, they come in and they think, what can I get out of this? What can this guy do for me versus what can I do for this man? They're extract. And your job as the man is to bring that girl in,
right? Turn her from an extractor, right, and a liability into an asset. Now, a lot of guys don't have the skill set, which is why I'm so big on like you have to get yourself to a certain point, because then you can demand that excellence from the girl back in reciprocation. But yeah, you definitely have to teach girls in the West how to be a good girlfriend for you, because a lot of them call bad habits. They want to do girls' nights out. They want to dress like hoes. They want to act like hoes. They want to twerk in public. They want to have guy friends. They want to be able to do certain behaviors and actions that might put the relationship at risk. And your job as the man is to protect her from herself a lot of the times and not put herself in compromising situations that might hurt the relationship. But a lot of girls think that it's okay to behave in certain ways even when they have a man. And your job as the man is to let her know, no, this is not how it goes. Just like you want to work for that job and there's rules and regulations. Same here. You want a relationship with me, that comes with rules and regulations and boundaries. And your job as the man is to be able to enforce those boundaries. How do you enforce it? Never physically. Always, I will leave you. You will go back to the fucking streets. This is how it is.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is there's just a lack of good female role models.
That too.
Yeah, the music, what they see on TikTok. Yo, TikTok is poison, bro. I don't feel it. You ever seen one of those reels go up and down? Like, for example, short video, girls talking about, oh yeah, man, this, man, or that. And they believe that stuff, right? What happens is, if you live in real life. So, remember, I mentioned earlier in the show, right? I said, most women don't know what men want. So, their teacher is TikTok. Cardi B, all this music. Now, here's the problem, right? If you're a guy of me, the guy of value, like that, you're never gonna take serious. But once again, they don't know what men want. Oh, he's tall, successful, in the gym, good looking. I want him. But they don't know how to keep men in a little setup. So my thing is like, okay, at what point do they say, you know what? I'm feeling all the time. This is smashing these guys, this is happening. But they don't really learn, bro, until it's too late and they're really old.
Here's the other interesting thing too. The female role models in the West are very bad. You got Cardi B, Kim Kardashian, Meg Thee Stallion, Sadie Girls, like Lauren Rose, these girls from like what's that podcast
Angelski did a podcast as well. So looking for that last night.
He called her daddy. Yeah, that's the girl that did the thing with Mia Khalifa, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like these girls, right, that are like telling you a bunch of bullshit, right? And here's the funny part. These girls, these strong, independent women, essentially become the man that they wanted in the first place. They become a boss babe. They make this money. They become successful. They have. Understand is when you become a boss babe, you make money, you become successful. What ends up happening is you take on masculine tendencies. You take on masculine traits. And guess what happens when you meet a guy that's actually masculine, that's masculine?
Clash.
Yeah, it's a clash. And I'm like, a guy like me, if I meet a chick that's like a boss babe or whatever, sex only category. And here's the scary part. She'll never know it. I'll fuck with her, I'll talk with her, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. But a lot of times she doesn't know that she's been pretty much disqualified from being a serious girlfriend from the beginning because she has tendencies that aren't attractive to me. But the problem is that so many women think acting like a guy, chasing your career, being masculine, being dominant, being competitive. Let me challenge you. All this fuck shit is attractive. It's not.
Yeah.
And I tell girls all the time on the podcast, all right, so you think it's attractive for you to be a boss babe, blah, blah. Yeah, it is. Okay, well, you know what? How about this? How about Saturday nights? I wear heels and I wear a dress. Would you go out with me? Ew, no. Fantastic. That's exactly how men feel when you talk about you being a boss babe and competitive. Oh my God, no, it's not. It is the same because a masculine woman is just like a feminine man. But here's the craziness. Women expect you, right, to be masculine, right? And they can pick and choose when they want to be feminine, and you're supposed to accept them no matter what. But if I act feminine, right, maybe on a Saturday, they would never accept me. So what men want is considered discrimination. What women want is considered standards. If I say men don't like masculine women, oh, you're just insecure. No, it's annoying. Just like me wearing heels would be weird to you. Would I like look at the lunacy of like when you challenge female logic, it never makes sense. If I told a girl, okay, well I want to wear makeup and heels on Saturday, right? And she said, ew, no, don't do that. Like I would prefer if you when you wore your suit and your sports coat and went out. Like, and I said, oh no, that's because you're insecure. She would look at me like I'm crazy if I said that, right?
Here, hey, I have a new Toyota. It's getting now. I should probably.
Because what do you mean I'm insecure? You're insecure. She's like, what do you mean I'm insecure? No, you're just not acting like a man. Okay, so How am I insecure for saying like I don't want you acting like a dude and being all masculine? Oh no, you're insecure. No, it's annoying. Just like you'd be annoyed by me dressing like a girl. But when you put female logic to the test like that, it never works. And that's when they finally hit the eureka, like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from now. I don't like it, but I understand. And you have to put women in your position for them to understand because they're solipsistic creatures. Like a lot of girls think the world revolves around them. As terrible as that sounds to say, but they have to be that. It's actually naturally and within them to be that way so that they can care for their children better. They have to worry about themselves over a man.
Mike, I'm not a girl, right? Let's say you might know you went to school with. She's never had a real man in her life up until now, right? You're 30, 32, right? So 32 years is her friend.
I'm the real man in their life, the first one.
First one, right? So she dated all these Sims, these loser guys, and it's like, damn, she was always the one leading back, dynamic. So now you're like, okay, cool. I'm here. What's good? And bottom line is, right? She's doing things that she's not aware of how you feel. It's like, oh, I'm used to doing this. But you're not gonna take tolerate that. The opposite is say, yo, I don't like that. She'll be like, why? She doesn't understand.
No, you said
Exactly. So it's scary, but it's also like, okay, if you care about her, you can help her. It's trying to teach her how to react, but it's so many years of programming, bro. It's tough.
It's fun. I've had that experience before.
Yeah.
Where a girl had been in her previous relationships and literally just been with Sims. And then she's with me, and then she's shocked by the dynamic of the relationship and how I behave. And I'm like, this is the way it's going to be. Like, I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, like, I'm not going to try and change you. I think it's better you just leave.
And then it's amazing. A lot of times they acquiesce to you by doing that.
Yes.
Because it's so rare for a man to stand on his principle and say, this is not, I'm not going to follow you, you follow me. And women naturally want to be followers, just that they'll test you sometimes. And it's just crazy, bro. It really is. And like, it's a lot of the times, like you might be the first guy, right, that actually has some semblance of masculinity. And they'll be like shocked and surprised when like, we'll go 25 years of never getting checked. And then you come in, boom, she's like, whoa, this guy tells me no. This is weird.
I think
I'm about to hurt
you're
you.
the hate. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And it's funny because you say no in 30 years plus, just like, damn, who is this guy? But then like, you know what, Dad, he's worth it. I'm gonna change or try to change. So
I like this quote which you put in the book. Most women want to get married and have children. Very few want to be wives and mothers.
Yeah. So fantastic.
It was Aaron Clary.
Aaron Clary.
Yeah, I quoted him, and he edited my book and helped me write it. Shout out to him; he's a great guy. So yeah, that comes from his book, and that's very true. And you know, I got a funny story about this. We had a girl come on the show a couple weeks back, and she had been engaged to her guy, and she was like insistent on like this 200,000 plus like $250,000 wedding, yeah. And I was like, why do you care about a wedding so much when you've been with this guy for so long? Blah blah. She's like, I want a big wedding. I want a big wedding. And I was like, I had like red flag. What is he like? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, what does he want? She's like, yeah, well, he doesn't mind something a little bit lower class, like lower key. And I was like, why not just go with that? Like, why do you need to have this big spectacle of a wedding? It's like, I just want it. And I was like, I want to be a bridezilla. And that's when it hit me. Like, a lot of girls want to get married. They don't necessarily want to be wives, because it's a cool thing. It's like a thing to flex. Just check it out. It's a check. And then also, like, what I've also noticed, like, and Instagram has, like, really highlighted this. Women like to compare their lives to other chicks. Like, oh, I got the most lit life. Look at all these experiences I have, blah, blah. They won't show the guy's paying for it, of course, right? Unless it's their boyfriend. But if they do have a boyfriend, they'll want to be able to have a boyfriend. Because here's the thing that people don't want to admit. When women meet each other, right? When men meet each other, you shake hands and say, what do you do for fun? You do that, I do this, etc. Men talk about things. They hug and kiss. Do you have a boyfriend? Are you in a relationship? Like, women lead with their careers a lot of times with age amongst each other, right? They might be like, I do this and that. But then they'll say, okay, do you have a boyfriend? And then that will be the predominant, figure in the conversation. But the girl understands that her value is derived from not her career, rather the caliber of man that she can attract. So if she's with a winner, she'll want to show that off. And girl, it's a constant flex to look. I'm with this guy, or I'm married to this guy, and that's why girls want to get married so bad a lot of times. Because number one, they're able to brag about that security. They got a ring. They got some kind of commitment. Also, what caliber of man can you attract and retain in a marriage? And what kind of caliber of wedding can you throw? Because that says a lot about your status. And that's what this girl's chasing. She's not trying to necessarily be a wife. She wants to be able to flex. Look at how expensive my wedding was. Look at how cool it was. I'm married. Ooh, like, it's like a wedding is like a female orgasm because the entire day is around her and she's getting the ultimate validation of a marriage and she's getting all the attention from everyone that she's known throughout her life.
Yeah, ultimately, for a woman, her being married and posting it on social media is the ultimate prize. Because it's competition. Imagine all the girls in school like, oh, well, I want to be a wife, I want to be this and that. The moment that they actually get a chance to be, and they can put it online, bro, ultimate validation from everybody. Because now, I have the best prize of all. I'm married. You're not.
Xiao Ye, founder and CEO of Magic Hero. I'm 56 years old, and if you're a menopausal like me, you'll know that life is not the same anymore. Besides the obvious hot flashes and mood swings, our skin is thinner, drier, and it's not as elastic as before. And those changes apply to all over our body, including our V-spot. And that could have an impact on intimacy and relationship. So after spending 30 years in the health and beauty industry, I decided to tackle this problem. I created hygiene.
Crazy, bro.
I assume that marriage isn't on the priority list.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The nuclear family is the backbone of any stable society. I think it's needed. You need two parents, right? Children and a dog. But the thing is that in the West, the United States, the United Kingdom, pretty much any first world, English speaking or westernized country, marriage is typically at the table because you involve the state. All for guys getting married without the state involved. You want to get married Islamically in a mosque, in a church, synagogue, just do it with you two, some close family. Hell, even if you want to have a wedding, but I don't want anyone signing paperwork or the government can now come in because what happens is once the government's involved, that woman is now incentivized to leave you.
Yeah, this is why 80% of divorces are initiated by women because they have a huge incentive to do so because they get 90% of the alimony.
Their favorite.
Yeah, they get the house, they get the marital home, they get the children, everything, and they can use that against you. So my thing is, I tell guys, she can leave at any time. You can walk in your house, she sucks some dude's dick, and she can hand you divorce paperwork, and you can't do anything about it. So, and this might sound terrible to say it, but once again, the man always needs to have the leverage in the relationship. And the reason why I say the man needs to have the leverage in a relationship is because typically when men are in leadership roles and have leverage with their girl, they tend to act better than women do. When women have leverage, they can destroy your life. With a man, at least there's checks and balances. If the guy marries a girl, right, he's more than likely not going to divorce her. Men rarely initiate breakups and or divorces because if he loves that girl, even if he goes and has sex with another chick, his main girl is his main girl. It is what it is, right? And if anything, I've had it before where I've went and hooked up with some chick. I'm like, damn, this bimbo's useless, and I want to be with my main girl even more.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, God damn.
Yeah.
So if anything, like when a guy goes out and exercises the options, it makes him appreciate what he has. When women go out and exercise options, it's a wrap. It's over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Men and women are not the same when it comes to sex, which girls get mad at me about this all the time. But it's one of the few things that men get the benefit is, or the privilege that we get is being able to be promiscuous without judgment. But that privilege comes, we have to earn it. Men can't be promiscuous and be loose like girls can. Wake up and literally be on the boat future the next day. She could be hanging out with future, waiting for future. We on the other hand as a man, right? You gotta have your shit together and have a future to even be able to get a girl. You have to have some semblance of competence to get a woman. It's not the same way. So that's why male promiscuity is not, as disgusting, I guess, as female promiscuity because for women it's easy. For men it's hard. People only respect what's difficult.
Do you think if there's going to be less marriages, which seems to be the trend moving forwards, do you think people are going to have less kids?
Yeah, we already know the birth rate is at its lowest, and we're already like below. I think you're supposed to have 2 kids per family. We're way below that in West in general. We have some of the lowest birth rates.
You think that's a problem?
Yeah. Yeah, because whenever you have low birth rates, it can lead to economic collapse. Because you're not going to have enough people coming into the workforce, right, to create economic stimuli. And that's all the Western world have, really low birth rates, historically low birth rates.
So say for example, you're encouraging a lot of guys to move towards the top 10%, the top 1%.
Yeah.
But when they reach that position, do you think they start to have some of the characteristics and traits of some of the women which you described in the book? Such as they have so many options, they start to start treating women not as nice.
That's good for
They're discarding a lot of them. They're ghosting them. They're doing all like there was a full page where you were talking about all the bad things which women are doing to guys.
Yeah.
But if you then become that 1%,
Yeah.
then it's really easy for you to start treating women like trash. So do you think there are some negative side effects of that?
That's definitely, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that, but I will tell you this. Go ahead.
I think for a guy, right, if he knows the game, he knows the landscape, he's getting girls, he knows what's good and what's bad. If the girl's actually worth the value, and she's actually what she says she is, she's loyal, trustworthy, and she's valuable to him as an asset, he's not gonna get rid of her and dump her. He'll keep her around. You know what? She's her title of wifey. However, for a girl, the guy might be good to her, treat her very nice, be there for her, but you're not my ideal guy, just walk away. So I think for a guy, even in that scenario, it's different because she said, you know what, she's worth value, I'm gonna keep her around. Versus a girl, you're good for now and then, I'm out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add to his point, is that that's a good point because
They have like my value's gone up.
Yeah.
I have, without a doubt, like in the past, I've treated women pretty poorly.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things. I think what I've come to terms with is I just have to be more honest.
Yeah.
Not necessarily change my behavior. I can be more honest. But I think if I just set things straight right at the beginning, say this is how it is, then less women get hurt.
glad you mentioned that.
Right. I don't want to create this environment where treat people like trash.
Yeah.
And then if they get treated like trash, then they're gonna start treating them like trash.
Yeah.
They're the reasons why they get all better dickheads because they just get experience from all so homesick. And they treat
That's a really good question. I'm going to tie everything together. What he said and what you said. So that's why I'm real big on guys being honest with growth. Most guys aren't. I tell guys, tell them I'm going to have multiple women. I'm not going to be married, etc. Right? Like tell them so they can make the conscious decision to still mess with you right now. Right? Because at that point, then it's on them. You can't complain and cry about heartbreak if you know that I'm not going to be married. Right? That's number one, being honest. Number two, as far as like guys that are in the top 1% treating girls poorly, or guys that are in the top echelon treating women poorly, going back to what he said, as you date and deal with more women, you're going to be a very good judge and assessor of character when it comes to women. Because you deal with bimbos, let's be honest here, we all know the typical girl, she'll come in and she'll be useless whenever you'll have sex for her, never take her seriously. But when a girl does come in and she has value, it's kind of novelty because most girls don't. So you'll be able to identify those girls really quickly, and then it's upon you to be able to decide if you want to elevate that girl or not. My biggest thing is I'd rather the men have the power versus the women, because at least I know when the man has the power, he earned the right and the ability and the privilege to have that power. Women, when they get that power, they never earned it; they were born with it.
You say in the book that women don't deserve preferential treatment, but in what circumstances do they?
If they have into your life and they're an asset versus a liability, then that's when you elevate that girl and she gets certain perks and privileges. Like right now, I'm here in Dubai. And I'm very good. Her with me. She's fantastic. She makes life easier. She's, helping us with our logistics of everything, the travel. Bring her out, etc. She's a compliment. She's looking very quiet, very feminine, sound. And that's that's one of the benefits of, hey, you behave a certain way, like I'm gonna definitely bring you along with me, right? And those are the girls that you treat well. To treat you well, you treat them well. Real big on reciprocation. I'm not saying poorly, but you gotta be able to identify the girls that do deserve it versus girls that don't. And my argument is that most girls simply don't deserve it.
I guarantee you that when you were doing, your stuff, whatever, if you met a girl that was irreplaceable, like she was making coffee in the morning, helping you with your videos, helping your camera work, it's like, you know what, damn, I'm having fun, but Shorty's like different. He was like, you know what, I'm keeping her around. Versus the girl's like, I can find this cherry on the street. Tom is cool, but like, I'm getting flown to Dubai.
Men don't punish.
Yeah.
Women punish nice guys.
Yeah.
Men don't punish nice girls to the same degree that women punish nice guys. Because when a woman comes in and she's nice and she's feminine, docile, and like really friendly and good to be around, and gives you that type of energy, Men really appreciate that because they don't get it often, right? But women, on the other hand, get it all the time, so they resent it. So women punish nice guys. So that's why you can't be a nice guy. But as a girl, when she comes in and she's like a good woman and she's nice and everything like that, men tend to appreciate that a lot more. And since guys are way easier to please, right? If a girl comes in and she does a few of the things I mentioned, she's gonna be heads and shoulders above most women. She's gonna be able to stand out. And then the guy, a lot of times, will elevate her or at least keep her around so that she can continue to prove herself. So that when he is ready to settle down, this is gonna be the main.
Have you ever ended a relationship and regretted it, thinking like, oh shit, she was a real one? Because I've had an experience with. There's a couple. I look back and I think, damn, it would be nice to see alternate universe and seeing how my life would have turned out.
Yeah.
Because she was like so loyal, like 100% supportive, and just added so much value to my life. And I think, get her back, bro. No, but I'm with a couple of them who are doing the same thing. I said, like she, yeah, it's weird to think like, what if?
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
I've never had a what if. Because every time I'm kind of with a girl, I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like basically, I look at it from a logical standpoint. Is this girl adding more value than she's causing damage? And if the answer is she's being more of a liability now, even if she had a value in the past, I get rid of her, regardless of like how it felt.
Wait, I've had a couple what ifs, but my thing is like, I understood me breaking it off that yes, it may have been a great setup of me and her, but ultimately, I'm happy in this moment. And for my career, my business, if I'm not happy in the moment, then the point of me staying to maybe figure it out isn't worth the cause. So my thing is like, yes, it may have for you, but say, you know what, damn, she's valuable, she's amazing, but at some point you gotta say, yo, I'm on a mission here. If she in any way is gonna cause me to falter, I can't be here anymore. I gotta move on. Because guess what? When I move on, there are other girls. Now, then it may not be her, but they'll just the same.
Well, you should be leveling up, and it should be the case that you are upgrading each time. If not, then you need to reset.
He said something really interesting. He said, I'm not happy right now. And I think the phrase happy wife, happy life is the biggest bullshit ever.
Facts.
It needs to go, happy man, happy land, right? Because the reality is that as a man, if you're happy and fulfilled, I promise your girl's gonna be happy and fulfilled too. Because as the leader, right, if you're striving, you're chasing excellence, you're getting things done, the woman is always going to benefit because she's your girl. Men are okay with sharing their resources. So if a man is really winning in life, his girl's going to, drive the fruits of that labor. But when a woman is happy, right, and even as human beings, we're designed to constantly be chasing, more and more to some degree, assuming we're not lazy and too content. But with women, right, it's very difficult to please them. So for her to get pleased, she needs to know that she's pleasing you. Women get the most fulfillment and joy when they're serving a man that they love, admire, and respect. They can't get it from a career to the same degree that they get it from the validation of a family and a husband, right? And they've done studies on this that prove that women overwhelmingly choose family and children versus a career. They did a study in this with Ireland where after COVID, everyone went back to the workforce. Like, I think something like 60% of the women plus were like, no, I want to stay. I don't want to go back to work. I'm just going to stay here with my family because they have been working for all that time and they just prefer to be with loved ones. And there's nothing wrong with them. Like, I don't demonize women that stay at home. I think that's the best way to raise a child. Fuck a daycare, raise the kid yourself. You created it. But the reality is that when the man is happy, the woman is going to get that happiness as well because he's doing what he needs to do. He's fulfilling the duties of the household, and then she in turn wins. But when it's the other way around, where he's prioritizing her happiness, well, guess what? I just pedestalized her inadvertently without knowing it, and then now she has no choice but to sit there and be like, "Man, this dude's like bending over backwards and impress me," and fuck that shit. Now, are there girls out there like for sure? Maybe the thing received as equal. That's the first thing you can do.
Like we said in the book, you said he's having an understanding that most relationships are not going to work out. So you shouldn't pin your happiness on something fleeting and largely out of your control.
Yeah, because women are emotional features. So their emotions are changing by the minute, by the hour, by the day. So you need to pin your happiness on something that you can control, which is what? Your success, your destiny, and then the woman's a byproduct. That's why I'm so big on telling you guys, you need to be happy. She's going to be happy from serving you. But if you serve her, she's in the authority position and you're chasing her validation. When you're chasing a woman's validation, it's not the same. Girls, right? A woman's mating strategy, shout out to Roland Thomas, he talks about this extensively, the rational male. A woman's mating strategy is based, it's called hypergamy, which is chasing the best guy that she can, right? Getting the best guy that she can. It's constantly trying to upgrade, get the best deal. But that mating strategy is based in doubt. So since it's based in doubt, you need to eliminate that doubt by being the best man that she can get. And the only like for it to 100% feel that she's getting the best deal is that she's constantly chasing your validation. If she's chasing your validation, she don't got time to show her ass on Instagram. She don't got time for ladies' nights out. She don't got time for all this other business that a lot of girls end up doing because they know that they got their guy locked in and secured. She needs to be chasing you and not know where she stands. When that's going on, that's when she's the happiest. Not when it's the other way around. That's why I tell guys all the time, the girl needs to like you more than you like her. And the only way that happens is you're striving, you're being excellent, she's following your lead, you're happy. And then on top of that, you can replace her anytime. And I know it sounds evil for me to say it that way, but that's how you get the best out of women since the beginning of time. Women have always been attracted to men that have social, that have other women, that have a strong circle of friends, etc. And that's the only way she's gonna feel happy. Her hypergamy is satisfied because she's chasing you, so the doubt is gone, and she knows that she can replace. That's how you get a loyal and beautiful. I think it's important as
You're of home building. And it's only saying homes within 3 miles of Bay Park in San Diego. Show me photos of primary bedrooms. Please take me on a tour of the primary bedroom in the second listing.
You need to, regardless of if you're male or female, you need to be happy, single. You can't put your happiness into a relationship or another person because then you're constantly a slave to that relationship and thinking, well, I'm only going to be happy if I'm with this person. It's scary for it. I think it's pretty sad when I was 21. I remember thought, oh, well, I'm at my happiest when I'm with this person. And if I'm not with this person, then I'm not going to be happy. And then I tried to make the relationship was pretty much dead. I just dragged it on, thinking that this was the only way that I could be happy.
But here's the scary part. With girls, women are far more people oriented. Like women derive their pleasure the most from so being social. That's why they're socially superior to men. Like a girl could walk in a room and size up everyone and figure out the relationships immediately, right? Versus a guy, it's like a learned skill for us. We don't figure it out, right? Assuming we study game and pick up and all this other stuff later on. It takes us a decade plus to learn it. A girl that's 18 knows right away, oh yeah, this girl not smashing him, he's in friends, blah, blah, blah. We got to learn this stuff. For them, it's natural. So for girls, they derive more of their pleasure from being in social situations and having a man. Every girl, whether she wants to admit it or not, wants to be in a relationship with a guy. No girl wants to be single. I think men need to learn how to be single, for sure. Women should too, but a lot of their natural happiness state comes from being around other people. And a lot of times for them, that comes at the end of a family and children and a husband. But men need to learn how to be independent 100%.
Yeah. I think you mentioned the majority of your 20s, you weren't really chasing girls, you were focusing on.
Yeah. I was working at Homeland Security, doing criminal investigations. I was really pursuing that, going really hard. Mexican cartel cases, wiretaps, big, conspiracy cases. And then when I moved to Miami, that's when I started getting back into the scene with women more. So most of I was around 28, 29 at that point.
So most men during that period of time, or the majority of the time, but at least in their 20s, they should be focusing on themselves.
Yeah.
Right? But the problem with a lot of guys at this age is that they will have desires and they're probably the horniest they're ever going to be.
Yeah.
So how does a guy ignore that desire?
So you don't have to ignore it. But I get what you're saying here. So, for example, here's what you can do, right? This is what I did. For the first year and a half when I came to America, what I did was I worked myself, 2 jobs, day and night, and I would just take breaks to eat, go to sleep, right? However, in my free time, let's say a day off, or maybe after work, I would actively go, ball, or day. So the free and yes. So when I was what's going on, then I'll push towards, you know what, I'll go on a date or two. That allowed me to focus on my purpose, my passion. And over time, what happened is I got further ahead in life. Further ahead in life, I value girls that I got to get. So I did that first, and then say, you know what, all right, I got free time right here, in 2 hours, 3 hours, I'll go on a date, I'll set it up. And that kept me in the game, didn't know. I was focused on my purpose as well. This is neglect from school all the way. You get money and status, it's like, you don't know how to handle them.
You didn't do it, but you get to the point where this thing is.
True. You still need to because you need to understand how women operate, but it's more like you can be on 2 levels successful, but still understand female nature.
And you can get finesse. I would say, so when I was working, this is my ratio, and I don't know if guys can do this, but it's up to them if they want. What I did was, because I lived in Laredo, Texas, which is on the Mexican border, right? So there was nothing out there. It's like Breaking Bad out in the desert, right? So once a year in August, typically, I would go back home to Connecticut, and I grew up, I'm from Newbury, Connecticut originally, and a lot of my friends were in the Boston area and New York, and Connecticut smack dab in between those two states, with Massachusetts and New York. So I would go visit friends, etc. I'd take like a month vacation, right? A month of leave when I was working for the government. I'd hang out, I'd go party with my friends, blah, blah. I'd take that month. And then I'd like go back in September and then right back to work, right? So I'd take like 3 weeks to 4 weeks off. And I did this once a year. And I did that for several years while I was living in South Texas. Then right back to work, like a month vacation, right? A month of leave when I was working for the government. I'd hang out, I'd go party with my friends, blah, blah. I'd take that month. And then I'd like go back in September and then right back to work, right? So I'd take like 3 weeks to 4 weeks off. And I did this once a year. And I did that for several years while I was living in South Texas. But, a lot of guys might not be able to do that. So I would say come up with some kind of ratio. Maybe you grind 8 weeks straight and you take 1 weekend out, or maybe you grind 6 weeks straight, take 1 weekend out and go out with girls, or you do it in your free time where you're on dating apps, scanning, etc. And it's gonna suck. You might go through dry periods, might have to fap a little bit every now and then, right, to alleviate that stress or whatever, right? But see, that's where you get in the touchy spot.
Yeah, you don't want to get addicted to porn.
You gotta be able to control that. But I'm not saying don't go out and get girls. Like, you should definitely learn game and go out and deal with women. My thing is, a lot of guys overdo it and they spend all their time chasing after girls. And that's like, when you do that, what ends up happening is you end up having to chase girls because you haven't built your value up yet to a point where you're attractive enough to get girls to be interested in you. Of course, you have to get out there and talk to women and push yourself out there, but you want to do the work up front so that you don't have to put as much work in when you deal with them.
You mentioned there's a part of the book when we were talking.
See, you favorite thing, special as they are, custom to celebrate your obsessed for special birthday gift say, out the Etsy app.
Place. And if their main motivation to get their own place, their own plot, is purely just so they can get girls and get laid in peace, you're saying that's terrible, it's an absolute waste of money. So in your opinion, when is it the right time for a guy in the 20s, whatever it might be, to actually go off and get their own place?
I would say once you actually make some money, and it depends what your goals are, right? So like if you're trying to buy real estate, whatever, you might want to live with your folks for a little bit longer so that you can go ahead and save up the capital to get a real estate property or get an FHA loan. My thing is, I don't want guys spending too much money out of pocket early in their 20s where they're going broke to pay their rent just so they can fuck girls. Like, that's stupid, If you really need to, go ahead and get an Airbnb or get a hotel for a weekend or whatever it may be, but like, you should really be building and learning a skill set, making more money, etc. Now, for me personally, I was able to get out of my parents' house at about 23, and I was working for the government, and I was able to land a good job out of there, so I had enough money to get an apartment and and everything like that. But I just don't want guys spending a ridiculous amount of their money on an apartment when they don't have the money, because a lot of guys will go broke to have an apartment to try to have sex with girls, and it's like, bro, why?
There's another thing you can do as well. Have a roommate that you trust. It's very fluid, and obviously that's separate bedrooms, but like it's more like that roommate lowers the cost of you actually having to pay rent, and you still live in a nice area. And with some game, proper attire, proper cleanliness, let's still come over, cut your spot, still have fun, but you pay half the money.
You should be able to pay your rent 4 times. Yeah. 4 to 5 times. And I would say, okay, once you can pay that rent 4 to 5 times, cool, move out.
You should get a housemate who's actually switched on as well. So
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you gotta have someone like. Didn't
Sterling Cooper and Justin Waller did they used to live together?
Yeah.
So that would have been pretty fucking amazing.
And they're both really. And here's the thing. Justin is
Yeah,
good friends of ours.
yeah.
Here's the thing: they got money, both of them,
Yeah.
like millionaires, right?
They go
But they live
gangs as well.
together. Yeah, but exactly. So they both understand women. But the reason why they live together, right? Iron sharpens iron. And I do think that it's good to live with guys that are like-minded, that are sharp, that can push you to become better, right? Because for them, it's like they have like this nice penthouse in Miami. You know, it's different. It's not like they're having roommates together because like, oh, we're going to put on bills. Like, no, they're both millionaires. They're both doing really well.
But that's an example of living together because iron sharpens iron. Andrew and Tristan, same situation, live together because having strong masculine men in your circle, right,
Yeah.
will help you become a better man overall because you're constantly competing. You need other moving in the world, right? And you you're fat. And it's lazy. The people get mad. Oh my god, that's so misogynistic. No, it's realistic. Women are naturally lazy creatures, and the reason why is because they don't have a proclivity to create resources in excess. They have a proclivity to create children and do the best by those children. They're very different in what they prioritize with their energy. Men are to go out and create resources, women to create children and take care of those children. That's not to say what men do is better than what women do. We need each other in unison. But what I am saying is that when it comes to working hard and being productive, women have a different mindset with that. So living with a girl is counterproductive to you. And then on top of that, right, you're living with her, the mystery is gone. She knows what you do all the time. She sees where you're at. That's when women start to get comfortable when you live with them because they know that you can't replace them a lot of times. She's your only source of sex. A lot of times when guys will go with their girl, they think, I'm going to save money, I'm going to get laid more. It actually goes down. You get laid less because she knows where you're at all the time. And
How's the that change? As we look at start fracture centers here, well, this is a great case study because Rudy Gobert is the type of center that's probably dealing with from the 80s and 90s. For Rick Smith, back to dealing with David Robinson was in the like, but the modern day center, even like Jokic, Joel Embiid, and it's not yours. It's for the Spurs. So Rudy made a mistake. He's not used to being left on the side corner. He should be under the basket. Head off the shooter. Game of three. His fans shouldn't get there. See. So that's McDaniel. That's four. It is right.
There's a line change here, but it's Johnson and the Spurs. We're gonna get fresh bodies here. It's a foul, McDaniels. It's a big foul, like you said. Terry Shannon has to come in for him now. But the way Shannon's his defense, it's been fantastic all game long. See if they can stay 6-0 while McDaniels on the bench. Team. It's all. I think. Okay, this is nice and there's the double. There's the three. Calvin Johnson has this finger press deep in their all over us. You can just see he has a wide open dunk. Calvin Johnson says, no. You know, saying clean, my friend, but that's not going down. This person be coming with the program. I believe means you're French. That wasn't fine. You're asking to say it. Skater, some parents look at some of the great strength in the floor. I said, Jones the job. 14 from that on Google. 14 and it's here. So long. Back in the phone. If it's a double, yeah, but I'm putting now, if you're in, you gotta continue to move. When you waits the if it's firm, it's not firm. Johnson saved the pass. Inside. The best thing about Calvin Johnson and their theories. And this capital continuing to attack the pain with the winner. Calvin Johnson, 21 clear having the experts in the whole. Here's the wall where everything is looking at the different teams, right? And it's a soft level that comes from the lake. This is a flexion right there. At least you can't have. You know, the same thing is I think this is the and that's like college games with quick bricks or they call it the assets. So they want to do it. You can see that he doesn't make a play like that. Inside, it's just one side. That's it. It's so relaxed. It's mental. They stir. He takes up 3 for San Antonio. Victor's upset with himself. He's careful. We need to miss that gear thing. And watch the kick flip through. Here's the double. Split it off the glass. Easy. Easy money right there.
We didn't see any depth enough with their handshakes. Sorry. He's not. It's so good. It's fine. Inside. It's a younger job. Used to avoid lax position and not reduce time to his job. Just simple test right here. The practice of the max. Particularly is very much figure see the finger. Jamal, you didn't move the finger 60 years ago. Just like you want. His coordination, his eye ability for his size. It's like this. You see it's even stronger it's saying it's unbelievable. It's you see the chief of the drums coming here. Compared to the left to the draw a lot more. Basically, so a lot of you on this defense that are Anthony Edwards. By being into 22, great leader. Johnson is thinking of standing and scores out now. So Judas McDaniels on this not deep G. The time and there's the block on the right side. Nice job there by Harper Jr. Shane goes in on Mike Conley. Obviously, you get the game of the series and you get so most everything is going on. You just have to keep reminding folks of this. Don't you say to
Every game is Minnesota team does. And Jordan Keeling played every game this year. 30 minutes, split points, but it's doubles and little stuff. So much is in that world. And look for both people. Right up. Give a second. What's that on the floor will do for you? Reed is second. Reed to the free throw line. And refoul rest of the here to the third. Empty. This is here. And all three from three throw line 6 points. Last one, the partnership with the NBA and the NBA Coaches Association. Coaches across the league work on autism, the nightmares used to celebrate autism, except for smart. Shoes were autographed and are being actioned by Sotheby's from today through May 18. 100% of the proceeds benefit the To The Max Foundation. So get your shoes and other NBA memorabilia at Sotheby's. To the Max Foundation. Coaches being part of a very worthwhile initiative creating practice of acceptance one. It's a good finish line here for both teams. I'm going to close this quarter. Blocks and four. Minnesota excited. 7-2 was back to their halftime and was being right to the basket for 2. Right to the basket for 2. FBL was striking fast. Clock trying to block. And we're going to hand on. He touched it last. Still plenty of shot clock. 4. That's Spurs. Spurs when they know exactly when moving the underneath the floor here. It's target attack less. There's their second field goal. We're against 7. Stays in Minnesota and San Antonio. Game 6 of the series, Friday, downtown Minneapolis. If there's a game 7, it's back in on Sunday. The city awaits the series. It's fine. Johnson, to the next. With the present pressure of Devin Vassell, the Memphis. But it also thanks stays the material. There's a question right here. Size the split. Fournette, LaSalle, and then Edwards to the bench. Chandler Porter, 18 for the game, got a field outside for the fourth quarter. See if he can have another spectacular performance. It's came in. Sorry. Well, free throws are going to settle with 2:10 to go. Right, that was Harville on the backside with the push in the back of Rivera.